Hi, and welcome to my channel, Laura's Library Card. So today, it is Monday, June 17th. I am home from work. It has gotten all dark and stormy outside, which is nice because then I won't have to water my flowers. But I am here to give you a little update and start out this weekly vlog. Over the weekend was Face Off Weekend, 48-hour long event for the Amazing Readathon. I talked about it and all of the number of things that I managed to read during that time in my last vlog, so you should go check it out to hear about the manga that I was reading. And it was a good time. And then that's sort of, I think, where I finished. That is where I finished my last vlog. So I did actually read some more on Sunday, but this was after the 48-hour face-off event had finished. So I actually finished 2 more titles yesterday on Sunday the 16th. So I'm going to briefly talk about them here and now. One of them that I read was the first volume of a manga series, which is called Ima Koi, Now I'm in Love. The author is Ayuko Hatta. Sorry, my computer's being weird. This is something that came on my radar because it is one of the host favorites for the Amazing Readathon. I think this is Izzy from Happy for Now's one of her favorites that she selected for the readathon. So I got currency to use in the readathon by reading this first volume, and it was cute. It was good. It's basically so far just like a contemporary romance manga. It seems like a young adult demographic because it seems like both of the characters are in high school, but basically in this volume she's like, hey, I like you, and he's like, hey, I like you, maybe we should date. And that's basically everything that happens. It was cute. It was soft. I think there is a cultural difference or just like a thing in manga. I don't know. I'm pretty uneducated and don't have a ton of experience with manga, but it seems like anything that is sort of a romance series, it feels like oh, I'm in love, I choose love, like happens so fast, and like sort of like frequently before they are dating. It's like they're like, oh, I really like you, oh, I really like you, like now that we're in love, like let's date, and like I have confessed, so let's like deepen this love. And I'm just kind of like, okay, that's an interesting perspective. It's just kind of different from like my own personal viewpoint. But yeah, it was super cute. It was an easy read. I would continue in this series, and I might do that because I can read the manga pretty quickly if they are available through my library, and I will get more currency for the readathon. So that was a manga title that I finished yesterday. And then I also read a novella titled Broken by author Imogen. This is the first book in a After the Plague series, and this is basically a pandemic dystopian kind of book. I do believe later in the series there will be a romance that develops, but there really isn't much of that happening here in this first book. It's actually all the like heartbreak is happening in this first book because it is essentially like this horrible virus, this horrible plague has broken out, and it is killing people left, right, and center. And we have 2 main characters that we're seeing perspectives from, a main female character named Frankie and a main male character named York. Frankie loses her husband, someone she super loves. It's very heartbreaking for her. I felt like it was portrayed in a very heartbreaking way, and she is very much so not in a good place mentally as that happens, and also immediately after that happens. But she ends up kind of taking responsibility for this young kid whose parents have not made it. And then York is a guy who was in one of the branches of armed forces, and basically was on one of like the very last flights home to the U.S. Like the U.S. Government was like, hey, we'll bring some deployed people home, and he didn't really have any reason to stay in Germany, and so he was like, okay, cool. But he doesn't seem to have any like real family that he's connected to. He had a younger brother that he was not really in touch with anymore, and so he's really out there like just trying to like survive and like kind of observing the remains of society and kind of observing and starting to be proactive with regards to what he might need to do to survive in this new setup. So it was definitely a super interesting start to a series. I was thinking about it a whole bunch today. I think the writing was like, okay, it was a little informal. There was, our main character, Frankie in particular, is very sarcastic, and she has sort of a gallows humor situation. And so I feel like there are certain turns of phrase that are, I wouldn't say jarring, but are like, that don't fit the tone of a dystopian plague kind of book. But I think that's part of just having a contemporary setting and somebody who is basically like a millennial going through this. I find this concept to be super interesting. Last year I read a zombie apocalypse romance that was 3 novellas trilogy, I think, and I really enjoyed that. So this is very much so in a similar vein, and I am very intrigued, and I am really tempted to just dive right into the next book, but I don't have current plan. I don't have anything checked out from the I read this on Kindle Unlimited. I don't have the next book checked out or ready to go. Hi, okay, also editing Laura here. I forgot to say that I used Broken for the 5th leg of the Amazing Readathon race, which was to read a book that had some sort of nature on the cover, because I knew that I could finish Broken really quickly and easily, but it was going to take me a long time to finish the roughest draft. So yeah, just wanted to interject that I am, at this exact moment that I'm recording this and editing this, current, gotta find a religious book thing, but I might skip a race, so we'll see. So with regards to what I do have ready to go, today at work, it was just super busy, super obnoxiously, had a lot going on, so I didn't get a chance to make any progress in my audiobook of Funny Story, which I really need to, because I think it expires in the next couple days, and so I need to finish that before it expires, and then I will be very upset. But I did not get a chance to make any more progress on that today at work. With regards to other things that I have going on. Okay, so I actually have quite a number of things checked out on Libby. I have Goodbye Paradise checked out by Sarina Bowen, and that's because this, I think, will fit. Someone on Discord was talking about how this book has religious cults in it, and that is the next prompt for the next leg of the Amazing Readathon. The 6th leg of the race is going to a city in Madagascar, I think is where it is. I'm kind of blanking on it, but it has to do with you have to read a book that has to do with religion or gods. And so I checked out Goodbye Paradise audiobook for that. I did, because I enjoyed the first volume of Ima Koi. I checked out the second volume of Ima Koi. I don't know if I'm going to read it. I share library cards with some people, so some of these books are not mine. But yes, I have Funny Story, and it's due in supposedly 4 days, so I need to get on that. I also checked out Every Heart a Doorway, because it is something that is I think it's a book that Bree gave 5 stars, so I thought I could do that for 500 points for sightseeing, because it's relatively short, and it is something that I've been meaning to get to. I also checked out Part of Your World, because my hold came available, and I've been on hold for a really long time, so I need to make an effort to try to read that before the end of the 17 days, so maybe it'll fit for one of the prompts coming up. And I also have The Roughest Draft checked out on audiobook, because I'm buddy reading it with a friend, and so I need to start that and get that going. I have the ebook checked out for The Mysterious Case of Alberton Angels, as well as the physical copy. I felt like reading the physical copy, because it was so much mixed media, was a little bit easier just on my eyes, and for formatting, it just looked nicer. So I probably could just get rid of this ebook, but otherwise that's everything that I have checked out from Libby. And those are some of my options. I have also some Kindle Unlimited books, but I think that I'm going to be trying to focus here in the next couple of days on finishing Funny Story when I'm at work, when I have an opportunity to listen to audiobooks. I'm going to then also work on, I have to read Roughest Draft, because I'm buddy reading it with someone. I also have On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous for a book club next week. Ooh, and I also have my comic club book that is also next week. So this week, I have a bunch of sort of required reads that I need to get to. I'll put the cover here for my comic club. I think it's called The Baker and the Bard or something like that. So I definitely have some things that I need to get to this week, and some stuff that I'm hoping to get to. But once I, have read something or made some decisions or have an update, you will be the first to know. Hi. Okay, so today is Tuesday, and I have D&D starting shortly, so I have to make this kind of a quick update. But I wanted to let you know that today I finished the audiobook of Funny Story by Emily Henry, and I thought it was good. Yeah, I for some reason there was some element here of this book that just didn't quite land for me, or like the whole thing was enjoyable. I don't know. I didn't super care for the like internal conflicts that were going on between our main characters, or I don't know. There's just like, they both had baggage. They were both working through that baggage. They were both figuring out how to function in their current lives, even with a history of whatever their respective traumas were. It just sort of felt like, I don't know. It's absolutely totally terrible for me to say they should have had it figured out by now, because they're both like early to mid 30s, because like I'm early to mid 30s and like I don't have everything figured out, and life is a whole thing of figuring it. Like the whole point of life is to figure out everything, and you do that on your own time, and so it's the journey, not the destination. But I don't know, there was something for me that I enjoyed, but felt like this was never going to be a 5-star. It was a solid 4-star. Good story. I liked the romance between our characters. I liked most of the side characters. I had a fun time. It just felt like a smidge too long, and I just wanted a smidgen more of some unknowable, like I can't even define what it is that I wanted a little bit more of, but 4 stars, and it was pretty good. And then the 6th leg of the race for the Amazing Readathon is to go to this town in Madagascar, and I think the prompt has something to do with like read a book that has to do with religion or God, but it can be very like loosely related. And so I saw a recommendation for Goodbye Paradise by Sarina Bowen, and I'm like, I've read Sarina Bowen before. Let's give this a shot. So this is a male-male romance where the main characters have left a religious cult or are kicked out of a religious cult, and that happens like basically right at the start of the book. And I am really enjoying it. I'm listening to the audiobook. I am right about 25% of the way through. It's already been adorable. It's already been a little steamy. It like kind of scratches this itch in my brain of like, yeah, these characters are just like thrown out into the world, and they don't have any way to, like, it's kind of a survival story as well as a journey and a growth story so far, because yeah, these 2 characters are just like thrown out into the real world and have to figure out what they're gonna do. And so it's very enjoyable so far. I like that element. I like the like survival story element. So yeah. Oh, I also late last night started the 2nd book in the After the Plague series. I read the 1st book, Broken, on Sunday, and I counted it for the 5th leg of the Amazing Readathon, and I think I talked about that in the clip right before this. And then today I started the sequel, even though I was like, I don't think I'm going to start, I don't know. But again, this is sort of like a survival story. This After the Plague book series is a series of novellas that is following a sort of post-apocalyptic dystopian situation where there's been this huge plague, wiped out a huge percentage of the population. It's not quite like single-digit numbers of population, but it's like, a very small percentage of the population is left. And I mean like a percentage, like maybe less than 5% of the people are here. I don't know what the numbers are, but yeah, I'm enjoying that, and I think that this series will have a romance in it, and our 2 main characters have finally like met at the point that I'm at in this 2nd book, and I am enjoying it. I like the writing. I'm a fair way through, and it's a survival story. So I did a lot of reading today, and this was kind of a big update, but I want to go play D&D, so I will see you next time. Phew, it is hot out, and it is Ohio, so it is humid. Oh, there's a red-headed woodpecker. sorry, there's a tree in my front yard, and a redheaded woodpecker just like flew up and posed beautifully and then kind of scuttled up higher out of sight. I hope it was just kind of resting there. I don't really want to deal with a tree that has been woodpecked. Anywho, hi, hello. It is hot. It is gross outside, but I am home from work. I wanted to give you a little update. Last night was D&D, and it was a good time. It was a good time. The role of the game master has passed to my friend, and we're kind of like rotating, doing these like sort of shorter campaigns, the many adventures of this traveling group, and my turn is done, and it took longer than I expected. Story of my life. I talk too much. But her stuff started last night, and it was very exciting. It's very fun. So far, it's been sort of like a puzzle kind of maze. Like we're just trying to figure out how to get from where we are to where we need to be, and then just kind of like roll of the dice and fight our way there. So it was a fun, start first session. So I'm interested to see where she kind of ends up taking it. But yeah, and then I was up a little bit too late, as per the usual. But I did make a little bit of progress in the second book of the After the Plague series. This second book is called Lost, and it's by Imogen Keeper, and I am at 55%. I am just tearing right through this book. It is high conflict in that there's been a scene or two that has been sort of intense, but this is a survival story, and our main three characters at this point are just trying to survive together and figure out what their plan is. So I am intrigued. It's definitely setting up some tension with sort of a group of people who seemingly are up to no good. I'm not sure exactly where the series is going. I think that it's building towards a romance. I am enjoying it. It's perfectly lovely. My scary cat coming from right over here. I think it was just because her eyes were all glowy. Yeah, and then today I had like kind of a mixed bag at work. On the one hand, I had like this like rough kind of morning, but the afternoon went okay. And I was able to make a little bit of progress. Are you jumping up here? I was able to make a little bit more progress in my audiobook, which is Goodbye Paradise by Sarina Bowen. I am right at about 58, 60%, somewhere right in there. And yeah, I would describe this as a friends to lovers story. It's relatively low angst as well as like low tension and conflict throughout. I would also kind of call this a sort of a survivor story. I mean, the two main characters have been kicked out of their compound with the polygamous cult, and they're just trying to like find their footing and figure out what the future is. There's not a ton of tension. It's not they've landed in a safe place and someone who's helping them out. So it's just sort of like a figuring out our life and figuring out what they're going to do kind of a situation. So it's not terribly like high stakes right now, or at least it doesn't feel like our characters are super stressed out. But they both had feelings for each other before the start of this book, and they're just starting to, explore those feelings and start to get to know each other in these new contexts as they learn kind of to be out in the world. So I'm about halfway through in both of those, just over halfway for both of those titles. I don't have any plans for the rest of the afternoon. I'd like to get some reading done. Probably will not be working on the audiobook because I listen to that at work typically. But I have that ebook that I just mentioned, Lost, that I'm thinking I might work on. And I don't know. I also have not been in the Discord for a hot minute, so maybe there's a whole new prompt or anything. I have no idea. But I have a couple different things checked out from the library that I might dive in on. So I will come back to you in a few hours with any further reading progress. Did I just sit here and be on Instagram for an hour? Yeah. Hi. Okay, so I finished my ebook of Lost by Imogen Keeper, which is the second book in the After the Plague series. And yeah, it was good. It was enjoyable. I mean, not enjoyable because it's like dark and heavy, but also I'm eating it up. I am really enjoying this like survival story between these main characters. There was a lot of tense, scary drama that kind of happened at the end of this second novella, and that made it tense and feel like an action or sort of like a thriller, essentially. Just for the last little chunk. And it's definitely put our main characters into a situation that they are, emotionally fraught. So I'm enjoying it. I actually meant to look up before I started recording how many books are in this series. Okay, so it looks like Goodreads lists 5 books in this series. I can't tell. I don't want to like read these descriptions too closely, but I can't tell if it's done or not. Like the first sentence of the last book says the 5th installment, and so I'm like, 5th installment? Is this? It doesn't say like dramatic series finale or anything like that. I'm not sure. I feel like since February of 2023, if there was another book, I feel like the author probably would have published it by now. I don't know. I don't know if this is a finished series or not. I am enjoying it, so I do want to continue reading. But it's been good. It's been tense. It's dystopian. It's post-apocalyptic. It's dramatic. It's I'm enjoying it. There is good sexual chemistry between our main 2 characters, and I think it could potentially lead to romance. So that's my rambling update for me finishing Lost by Imogen Keeper. And I think I hear my husband getting home, which is good because we're going to go get some Mexican for dinner. Good morning. Hi. So I did not actually update you yesterday on Thursday because I kind of didn't want to. But yesterday I finished that audiobook, Goodbye Paradise by Sarina Bowen. And overall it was good. It was good. I felt like the third act, like overall, it was an enjoyable book. I felt like the writing was maybe not like the most polished ever, but I was engaged throughout the book. I felt like there is sort of, and over the next couple of months, kind of like multiple little time jump moments that allow for like over a year to be covered in this book. And that was not ideal for me, but also this was, I think, sort of necessary to show sort of the growth and improvement for our main characters. The third act conflict was kind of dumb. Like one of the guys says something that's dumb, and then they have a fight about it, and then they have to resolve that fight. And I didn't really appreciate it, but also it was very much so in line with our characters. And so like that made perfect sense. So yeah, overall, I felt like this was something that I was engaged with throughout the text. I felt like there was good steamy moments. I felt like there was entertaining plot to be had. I just didn't think it was an amazing slam dunk. I would give it maybe 3.5 stars. There is a sequel. I have not looked up to see if it's the same couple. I think it is. I think this is just a duet. I'm not totally sure where. I think it's going to sort of be a lot more of the same. It's, this book was a friends to lovers situation, which is not always my favorite. And this was also a situation where both of the main characters have been in love with the other person for forever. And they just kind of like finally reveal that fact and start acting on that in this book. And also not a trope that I super, super love. I mean, it was fine, but it's not one of my favorite tropes. And so I feel like, I don't know. I don't know if I suppose I would read the sequel. Probably it's pretty relatively short like this first one was, but I was able to, because this book had to do with sort of religion, the characters have left a religious cult at the start of the book. I was able to use this for the prompt for Antananarivo, and I am therefore current on the current leg of the Amazing Readathon because the next leg of the race dropped yesterday and we are flying to Seoul, Korea. So the prompt for Seoul, Korea is a book with some sort of source of light on the cover, and I kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit about this for a minute. I had a couple different options, and ultimately I think I'm going to go with Every Heart a Doorway, which is something that I've been hearing about for a long time and have been kind of intrigued by for a long time. And I originally had it on this list because I think Brie gave it 5 stars, but it has a source of light on the cover, and it's relatively short, so I can just kind of get through that and submit it. And then I have a couple things that I have been reading, but I have not been able to submit for a prompt yet. Not sure if I should sit on those or if I should just submit them for sightseeing. I haven't been able to get any sightseeing things in because everything you read during Face Off weekend didn't count, and so I only have like I think 2 books other than like what I'm currently reading. So I don't know if I want to try to save them, but I think I would like to submit them for sightseeing prompts. So I did start Every Heart a Doorway last night. I only got the first, I think I went through the prologue. I don't even think I got any further than that. And I am intrigued. So today is Friday, thank goodness. Hopefully it is a kind of smooth sailing day at work, and don't have any Friday night plans. So I will try to get a little bit of reading done, but I will let you know what the day holds. Hello, it is Saturday and it is hot. And I just got home from a birthday party. Kid turned 5. It was like a splash pad and stuff, but it was full of kids, not for adults. So I'm trying to stay hydrated and cool down, and I can relax. Today is technically Saturday, and I did not really give you much of an update yesterday, and that's because I can feel that I needed to take a little bit of a break. I am not quite in a slump. I am not quite burnt out, but I didn't want to keep pushing myself. So yesterday at work, I was listening to Critical Role instead of a audiobook, and some music and stuff. And so that was really nice. And then in the evening, I just kind of like relaxed and watched TV with Ben and took things easy. But I was ready, and I did start a book right before bed. So I started and I think I'm at 29% or something like that of Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan something, who I definitely for years thought was a guy. I don't know why. I was just like, oh, like Seanan, okay. Anywho, point is, I started that book and got to the first like 29% before I went to bed last night, and so far it's perfectly fine. This is a young adult series, which I guess I hadn't realized before I got started, but our main character of Nancy seems to be physically 17, but like also seems to have spent a number of years subjectively, might be a little bit older, like mentally, I'm not sure. So far it's kind of, honestly, I'm not like super digging it. The premise is that the main character Nancy has just arrived at this like boarding school for troubled youth, and we learn in this first chunk that Nancy had gone through like a portal, opened a door, and like walked through into this other world, and was there from her perspective for a number of years, and it was not like our own world, and she was happy there and got used to things and how they did things, and then has ended up gone through a different door, and she's ended up back on Earth, and even though it felt like she was gone for a number of years, like in Earth time, our time, she was only gone for like 6 months, and she is obviously changed from how she was before she had this whole experience, and her parents have like sent her to this boarding school to, in their minds, kind of like fix her or help her or whatever, and it turns out that the woman who's running this boarding school has had similar experience from, her youth, I guess, and all of the other people who have gone to this boarding school have sort of similar experiences, having experienced different doors and different worlds and that kind of thing. As a premise, super interesting. As a execution, so far, I am a bit frustrated. I feel like, I think there is about to be a big info dump of explanation, but Nancy is very like confused as to what's going on, and I, the reader, am also very confused as to what's going on. Not very confused, but just kind of like a little bit like, okay. And I've realized I don't know if this book is going to be for me. I'm going to give it a solid try. It's not that long. I'd love to read it and use it for a prompt for the leg of the race, but I don't know. We shall see. We shall see how it turns out. But like, Laura, am not a huge fan of like abundant chaos. Like a little mischievous, you know, a little sprinkle of chaos. Fine, great. Alice in Wonderland, never liked it because I was always like, this doesn't make any sense. This is dumb. I don't know. And this is giving like Alice in Wonderland vibes. It is giving the Wayward Home for Peculiar Children, which I DNF'd many years ago. It's just giving these vibes of like, and everyone's a little weird here. And I'm just like, not a fan. So we shall see. I don't want to like be a huge Debbie Downer about it, and I don't want to be completely closed off about it, but I feel like I have kind of a low level of tolerance for like nonsense, which seems to be a element of other characters and other worlds that might be at least in the series. So I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, but I started it. I would love to make a big dent today. Now that I'm home and in the air conditioning, I'm going to kind of take things easy and try to stay hydrated. And I think I'm going to work on that. But if it's rubbing me the wrong way, then I'm going to jump ship partway through and switch to something else. So I have plenty of things checked out from the library and ready to go. Can easily switch tack. So that's what's what. I will try to update you before end of day Saturday because I've been ending these. I guess I've been ending these like Mondays through Sundays. So I have today and tomorrow. So you're not gonna be done with me quite yet, but I will kind of give you some of my final thoughts and feelings on how I finish Every Heart a Doorway. Very brief, quick update for Every Heart a Doorway. I'm at 50%. Oh, hi, cat. And I didn't realize there was going to be like murder mystery element to this book. So that has happened not just once at this point, and I am intrigued. I still am feeling kind of like confused / I don't really understand the point of this like school or situation or all these people together, but I'm a little bit intrigued with this sort of mysterious element. So, Hello. Okay, so I finished Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire, and it was good. I didn't think it was like a 5-star amazing best ever. I felt like, honestly, the length was pretty appropriate for the story that was contained. I kind of predicted, this is sort of it turns into a little bit of a murder mystery situation, and I had a prediction as to who the bad guy was, and then was pleased to see that I was correct. Not that it was really like a huge leap in my opinion. This felt like the first book in the series. Like there was just something to, especially the like tone of the ending. It felt like the first of a series. Now, I don't really understand like what the point was or is of every book in the series. Like maybe it's just to sort of like tell a story or whatever. I think it's interesting to have a thought process and follow that through in the form of a book to kind of like have this element of what happens to these two people who go off and have these adventures. I feel like there's sort of this idea of like, okay, the kids have fallen through the wardrobe, they get to Narnia, they have these grand adventures. Like what happens if they come back to Earth? Like, are they changed? In what ways do they change? How does that affect their life? Like, I think that's a very interesting idea to explore. I just also felt kind of like, what was like the point? So I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was interesting. I don't really have a ton more to say. I don't want to give anything away for plot purposes, but I enjoyed it well enough. Sure, that was great. So I can use Every Heart or Doorway to satisfy the prompt for Soul, because the prompt is to read a book with a light source, and there's some sort of light source on this cover. So I'm going to go ahead and submit that. I probably will take the middle mode of transportation just because it's not the longest book ever. But this means that I can finally get around to submitting some sightseeing books, because I have read a couple titles so far this month that I have not yet used for any prompts. So I think I'm going to go ahead and submit 2 books. I've read 3, but I'm sort of hoping that I could use, like, I'm going to submit Ima Koi, Now I'm in Love, Volume 1. I read that on Sunday, the day that Face Off ended, but it was after Face Off ended. So that was 1 volume of manga that I enjoyed well enough. It is a host favorite, so you get extra currency for reading it. I'm going to submit that for sightseeing. I think I'm going to submit volume 1 as, what did I put it as? Oh, I put it for a 300-point book, a book with a rating higher than 4 on Goodreads. And then I did read Funny Story by Emily Henry, and I liked it well enough. It did not satisfy any prompts that have already been dropped, or that I could use for any prompts by the time that I read it. And so I have not yet submitted it for sightseeing. I think I want to hold it. I think I can hold it, and maybe it'll satisfy a future prompt, but if not, I can submit it for sightseeing at a later date. And then the other book that I finished, I'm going to submit for a sightseeing prompt, is Lost, which is the second book in the After the Plague series by Imogen Keeper. And same thing. This one is not something that I read for a prompt for any of the legs of the race. So I'm going to try to figure out I think I can submit this for a 400-point sightseeing prompt, which is a book with 1 person on the cover. So yeah, that way I can get just a couple sightseeing prompts in. That way I would love to do some of both. I wanted to get some sightseeing done, and I wanted to complete all the legs of the race throughout the month. This will complete 7, and that means we have 8, 9, and 10, and today's the 22nd, so like we don't have very many more days of the month. The next legs of the race could drop like at any minute, essentially. So I want to get some sightseeing done, but also still hold on to Funny Story. So that's my plan. That's the update. I don't know what else I'm going to do or read or start for the rest of tonight, because I will now be like current with the legs of the race. And so I basically need to make progress on some sightseeing prompts. I have the next volume of Ima Koi checked out, which I could use for sightseeing prompt. And then that is also, like I said, the bonus for being a host favorite. Yeah, so I have stuff that I have to get to for real life purposes, and I have stuff that I want to get to, and I am feeling kind of in like a reading mood, so I think I'm going to try to read a bit more and like use this weekend to try to have a productivity time. So there you go, long update, but now you know what's going on and how I'm going to submit things for the Amazing Readathon. Hi, okay, so it is Sunday morning, and I am tuning in to tell you about 2 more titles, 2 more books. Last night before bed, I read the second volume of Ima Koi, Now I'm in Love. And let me tell you, I'm not really in love. It's fine. This is a sort of young adult contemporary romance manga, and this is volume 2, and in the first volume the 2 main characters are basically like, hey, I like you, let's be boyfriend girlfriend. And in this volume they are like, hey, we're boyfriend girlfriend now, so let's go on some dates. So they have a trip to the beach, and our main female character of Mizu meets the main male character's one of his exes, and she's like, oh my gosh, your ex is like so great, she's so pretty, she's so cute, she's so sweet, she's so nice, and she's like, she's better than me in every way. And the main male character's like, well, I mean, kinda, but like, you're my number 1, and like, I talk to you and I like you. And I'm like, I don't think I would acknowledge to my current girlfriend that like my ex-girlfriend actually did outbeat her in every like category that was just named, but okay, whatever. And then later on, there's the main male character. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. His name's like Yagyu or something like that. He has a younger sister who's all like, girlfriend, no way, like she can't take my big brother from me. And like the vibes were gross. I think this is like a totally like a cultural thing. I think this is like just like maybe it's like a manga thing, and I just don't have enough experience in manga to like recognize this trope. But like the little sister was like, I'm gonna make this girlfriend's life miserable because like I don't want my big brother to go to this girlfriend and choose her over me. And like the main female character is kind of like, oh my gosh, the little sister is a bully, but also like it's so cute how she wants to hold on to her big brother, but also like she's making my life miserable. And like there's not really any resolution there, and the whole thing just came across as like, I don't know, it was just like kind of weird vibes. Like maybe because I personally don't have a big brother. I don't know. I didn't really care for this volume. I thought it was kind of weird. I felt like the like themes were kind of weird. I felt like some comments that were made between these two people who in my mind are like 17 years old. Like I just felt like some comments were made that were just kind of like, you guys are children. Like, could you chill? So I don't know how I really feel about this series. I felt like the first one was very just like middle of the road, and this one was like meh. So I don't actually have access digitally immediately to volume for the next couple volumes. I did already request them from the library a couple days ago because it's an easy way to earn currency through the Amazing Readathon, but I don't actually know if I'm going to read them. But anyway, moving on. The book that I read this morning was a book for my comic group that I'm in. I'm in a ladies comic group, and we are meeting tomorrow on Monday. And so I read The Baker and the Bard by Fern Haught. This is a Fern Haught. This is a sort of fantasy young adult graphic novel. It's a little fantasy adventure story, and it was cute. It was perfectly fine. I know that someone else in my book group already said that they DNF'd this book because they didn't like the art style. I thought the art style was cute. I think personally it could have maybe used a little bit more polish, but I really liked the colors and the whimsy, and I thought that was fun. I think the vibes are good, but I didn't feel like the plot was terribly strong or made a ton of sense, I suppose. But basically we follow our main two characters, Hadley and June, one of whom is a bard and one of whom is a baker. And they go off on an adventure to look for an ingredient that is needed for June and her boss, like to make pastries and stuff. And then along the way they run into adventures. There is non-binary representation. There is a little smooch shared between a couple characters. So yeah, ultimately I thought this was cute. I just didn't think that it was very like impactful. It just kind of felt plopped there. So it was fine. It was like perfectly fine. I think that the average rating on Goodreads of 3.6 is pretty appropriate. And I don't know, I thought it was nice. And I looked it up, and it looks like the author bio at the end of the book says that they're from Ohio. So, yay, Ohio rep. So those are the two books that I have read since I last updated you. And I did already submit that second volume of Ima Koi for a sightseeing prompt. So I got 300 points for it. I submitted it for the prompt of a book that takes place in a country that is different from where I live, because I don't live in Japan. I live in America. I am saving The Baker and the Bard for a little bit of time just to see if it might fit for one of the upcoming city prompts. But I do have I could potentially use it for the sightseeing prompt of 500 points, a book with exactly 5 words in the title. If I don't end up using it for the next city leg prompt, then I am going to probably just use it for a sightseeing prompt. But in the middle of the night, the next leg of the race actually dropped, and the location, the destination that we're going to is Bangkok, which is cool and interesting. And the prompt for Bangkok was to read a book that had 5 or more colors on the cover, because Bangkok is like a really colorful city. And I was like, easy, already got this. So I already submitted Funny Story by Emily Henry for this leg of the Amazing Readathon race. So this is like the quickest I have finished any other leg. Point is, already got Bangkok like done and out of the way by using Funny Story. And so at this point, every single thing that I've read this month has either been used for a sightseeing or face off or an actual leg of the race, with the exception of the book that I finished this morning, The Baker and the Bard, which I'm going to hold on to for just a little bit of time to see if it might, be usable for one of the last 2 legs of the race, leg 9 or leg 10. But if not, then I'm going to submit it for that sightseeing prompt. So that is a big summary. You have been caught up on everything that I have been working on this week for the Amazing Readathon. I am current. Any reading that I do from this point until the next leg drops could potentially be used for sightseeing prompts. Books that I need to get to this week, I need to work on the roughest draft. That's not super urgent, but I would like to get it done sooner rather than later. And On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is a book club that I'm having, I think, on Wednesday. So I need to work on that. So those are 2 titles that I think I'm going to be working on, starting something today. I also have multiple things checked out from Kindle Unlimited, so I might try to like balance out. Like I've heard On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is kind of intense or heavy. Maybe I'm wrong. But if I need to, I'll balance that out with something like from Kindle Unlimited. So yeah, that is an update as to kind of where we're going. I feel like I had a really great reading week this week. This vlog covers what? Today is the 23rd. So this is from like the 17th through the 23rd. So yeah, I have finished multiple titles this week, since this vlog has covered everything since Face Off of last weekend. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've read 6 things this week. Like, good on me. This is probably one of the, I don't know if it's the highest page count month I've ever read. I'm currently sitting at 4,367. And like last month in May, I finished 16 titles in May, and that was at 4,500. So I still haven't hit, with 18 titles this month, the same page count as last month, but that's because I've read a bunch of short stuff so far for this month, a bunch of manga volumes and stuff. So yeah, I think this probably will be a month that as we have one more week of June to go, I still have a little bit more opportunity to make this one of my best reading months ever. But this has been definitely like the year of readathons, because last month in May I participated in Galactic-thon, and this month in June I'm participating in the Amazing Readathon. I spent the last like hour before I filmed this preparing and creating a tracking sheet, Google sheet, for the readathon I'm going to participate in the month of July, which is the Tarot Readathon. I'll leave a link down in the description if you are interested in the Tarot Readathon. I've participated before. I love the creators. It's a fun time. I like, participating in. I pull tarot cards, and then you have prompts for what those cards should prompt you to read. So that'll be a fun time. And then usually, I think most years, the Tropical Readathon has a run in August. So I don't know if I'm going to do that one. I don't want to go into any of these readathons burned out, but I've been excited for each week. Like when I saw the Tarot Readathon announcement, I was like, ooh, good time. I want to do that. So I'm trying to balance that, where I'm like reading enough to like have fun and participate in the readathon, but not read so much that I'm just going to be like totally burned out. So yeah, that is an update for what I've been doing this week, and also sort of what you can expect from me in July. But I'm going to end this vlog here. Thank you for sticking it out this whole way. And yeah, we have one more week left of June, and I feel like I'm in a good spot because there are 2 legs of the Amazing Readathon left, and I'm feeling like I can do it. I can do it. I'm going to finish all the legs of the race. I believe. So thanks so much for sticking with me, and I will see you next time. Bye.